The first thing I noticed that morning wasn't the heat, though. A Texas spring had already started pressing down heavy on the windows. It was the silence. Too still, even for 7 a.m., the kind of silence that sits in your chest before you understand what's missing. My coffee had gone cold on the counter when I looked through the kitchen window and saw the garage door open, wide open. James never left that door up. Not once in 40 years of marriage. I set the cup down, walked barefoot across the tile, and opened the back door. Warm air hit me, smelling faintly of dew and cut grass. The driveway was half in shadow, half gold from the rising sun. And where his old pickup truck had always been, there was nothing, just bare concrete, a dark rectangle of oil stains marking the shape of what used to be there. For 15 years, James had rebuilt that 1972 pickup piece by piece, every weekend, every spare dollar, every bit of his patience. The truck had been our third family member. He'd always said, "When I'm gone, Maggie, that truck stays with you. She's a piece of us." And now it was gone. I stepped inside the garage. The smell of motor oil, leather, and cedar polish still lingered in the air, strong enough to hurt. His tools hung neatly on the wall, each one outlined in black marker just how he liked it. His work gloves were still folded on the bench. And sitting there, right where he'd left it before his heart attack last September, was his old coffee mug. The handle was worn smooth. I didn't realize I was crying until I saw the drops hit the concrete floor. That's when I heard tires crunch on the gravel. I turned. Liam's black sedan pulled into the driveway. He got out. First, a crisp shirt, phone already in his hand. Behind him, Sophia stepped out from the passenger side like she was stepping onto a stage. Perfect hair, glossy sunglasses, nails painted a sharp crimson that caught the morning light. "Mom," Liam said, closing the car door slowly. "I need to talk to you. I didn't move." "Where's your father's truck?" He looked down at the driveway, avoiding my eyes. "That's what I came to tell you. I sold it." My stomach dropped. "You what?" "It's been sitting here for years, Mom. You don't even drive it." I could barely get my voice out. "That was your father's life." Sophia stepped closer, her perfume cutting through the smell of the garage. "Liam did the right thing, Carol. We're leaving for an international business trip next week, my company's networking event. It's a big opportunity for us." Her voice was smooth, polished, but her eyes stayed cold. I stared at them both, the people James had loved most. "He spent 15 years building that truck," Sophia smiled slightly. "Then think of it as his gift, helping us build something new." They turned to leave. The sedan rolled out of the driveway, sunlight glinting off its rear window until it vanished around the corner. I stood alone in the open garage, surrounded by the smell of oil and old leather, staring at the dark stain where James's truck used to rest. And for the first time since he died, I whispered out loud, "James, I think something's wrong." I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with James's old coffee mug beside me, the same one he'd used every morning before heading out to his job at the station. The house felt hollow, like the walls had forgotten how to hold sound. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that empty driveway again, a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. When the phone rang at 6:48 a.m., I almost didn't answer. The screen showed an unfamiliar number from out near a neighboring county. Something in my chest told me to pick up. "Mrs. Hayes." The man's voice was steady but low, like someone used to bad news. "My name's Walter Smith. I own Smith Classic Motors over in Oakville. I believe I have your husband's truck." For a second, I couldn't breathe. "You have James's truck?" "Yes, ma'am. Your son Liam sold it to me yesterday afternoon." I pressed a hand against my chest. "Why are you calling me?" There was a pause on the line. Then his voice softened. "Because I knew your husband. Years ago, he saved my brother's life in an incident out on the highway." I never forgot his name. When that pickup rolled into my shop, I recognized it before I even checked the VIN. My throat went dry. "He sold it for $12,000. I know," Walter said quietly. "But that truck's worth at least 10 times that, maybe more. I couldn't let it disappear into someone else's hands without calling you first." I swallowed hard. "You bought it?" "Yes, ma'am. I wanted to make sure it stayed safe. But there's more." He hesitated, his tone changing slightly. "Before James passed, he came by my shop, asked me to weld a small panel behind the glove box, said if anything ever happened to him, that compartment was for you and only you." I gripped the edge of the counter. He never mentioned anything about that. "Then I think it's time you saw it for yourself," Walter said. "If you can come by this morning, I'll show you." I wrote down the address with shaking hands. My heart thudded against my ribs like it wanted to break out. When I hung up, the kitchen was so quiet I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. I looked at the mug again, at the faint lip of dried coffee James had left there the day before he died. He'd been planning something even then. An hour later, I was on the road, the sun climbing higher, the asphalt shining like a mirror ahead of me. I didn't know what I was about to find, but deep down I knew it wasn't just about the truck anymore. It was about what James had left behind and why. That night, after he left, I stood in the living room surrounded by photos of my life. James in uniform, Liam as a boy holding his first baseball glove, and me smiling like the world couldn't break me. I realized it still couldn't. Not yet. Before bed, I wrote in my notebook the same words James had left for me. Protect yourself. Protect our boy. I underlined them twice. Then I closed the journal, turned off the light, and whispered to the dark, "All right, James. Let's finish what you started." By the time April slipped into May, the air had turned heavy with heat, the kind that sticks to your skin, even at night. I'd been waiting, watching just as Sam told me to, recording every phone call, noting every word Sophia said when she thought I wasn't paying attention. She didn't disappoint. At Sunday dinner, she glanced at my hand when I dropped a fork and smiled sweetly. "You should be careful, Carol," she said. "You've been dropping things a lot lately." Liam laughed nervously. He didn't notice the way she looked at him when she said it. I wrote it down that night. The next week, she brought me brochures for senior living communities, claiming she'd pick them up just in case I ever got lonely. That went in the notebook, too. Each word, each look, proof. When I showed the notes to Sam, he nodded. "She's moving faster than I expected. Probably planning to file for power of attorney before year's end. She'll convince Liam you can't manage your own affairs. It's time, so I made the call. Liam," I said over the phone, keeping my voice calm, almost gentle. "I need you to come by. There's something about your father you need to see." He hesitated. "Is this about the truck again?" "No," I said quietly. "It's about the truth." He came that afternoon wearing the same guarded expression he used to wear when he was a boy caught in a lie. I'd made his favorite chili and cornbread just to keep him from bolting too soon. When we sat down, I placed the letter from James in front of him. "Before you say anything, just read it." He sighed, unfolded it, and started reading aloud slowly at first, then faster, his voice cracking when he reached the part about Sophia's other name. When he finished, he stared at the page like it might vanish if he blinked. "Mom," he said, his voice low and hoarse. "This isn't possible." I slid the flash drive across the table. "Plug it into your laptop. You'll see the rest." He frowned but did it. I watched his face shift. Confusion, disbelief, then something darker. The photos, the bank statements, the wedding certificates. He pushed the laptop away. "No, she wouldn't. She couldn't." "Call the names in the files," I said softly. "Ask them what she did to their families." He stood up, pacing. "This is insane. You hate her. You've always hated her because she's not like you. Because she's dangerous," I shouted before I could stop myself. My voice cracked through the kitchen like thunder. "Your father passed away trying to protect you, Liam, and I'm not going to let his last months mean nothing." He stared at me, eyes wide, jaw trembling. Then without another word, he stormed out. The sound of his car peeling out of the driveway echoed down the street long after he was gone. I sat alone at the table, surrounded by papers. The hum of the ceiling fan was the only sound left in the house. Sam called an hour later. "How did it go?" He left. "That's good," Sam said quietly. "Sometimes they have to walk away to find the truth themselves." I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the window with James's journal on my lap, waiting for the phone to ring. It did at 12:37 a.m. "Mom," Liam's voice broke through static. I called them. The men in those files, they all said the same thing. He was crying now. "It's her, Mom. It's been her all along." My breath caught. "Where is she?" "She's packing. She knows I found out." "Stay inside," I said, standing up. "Lock the doors." "I'll call Sam." "She said she's leaving for the airport," he whispered. "She took my wallet, my passport, everything." The line went dead. I grabbed my purse, the folder, and James's letter, my heart pounding in my ears. It wasn't just about protecting the past anymore. It was about stopping her before she destroyed someone else's future. The world outside felt sharp when I stepped onto the porch. like every sound had been turned up too loud. Crickets, tires on pavement, the faint hum of a jet overhead, all of it blending into one pulsing noise that matched my heartbeat. Sam answered on the first ring. "She's on the move," I said, breathless. "Liam says she's heading for the airport." "I'm already tracking her," he replied. She used Liam's credit card to buy a ticket. The International Airport, 5:40 a.m., one way. She's withdrawing cash at multiple ATMs. We've got her pattern. The authorities are moving. Should I come? He hesitated. Yeah. Bring Liam. He needs closure. By 3 a.m., we were driving down the interstate, the city lights flickering on the windshield. Liam sat in the passenger seat, pale, hollow-eyed, gripping the letter James had written. "She lied about everything," he whispered. "Her family, her degree, her business, all of it." "She planned this from the start," I said quietly. "But she underestimated your father." We reached the airport just before dawn. Sam was already waiting near the terminal entrance, talking to two plainclothes investigators. He waved us over. "She's inside," he said. "Checked 2 bags heavy, both in her name. But that name isn't real." He turned to Liam. "You ready for this?" Liam nodded once, though his voice shook. "Let's finish it." From the mezzanine above the security line, I saw her. Sophia, dressed like she was walking into a photo shoot instead of a difficult situation. Tan coat, designer purse, sunglasses hiding her eyes, calm as ever. She handed her passport to the agent with that same effortless smile I'd seen 100 times at my dinner table. Then the 2 investigators stepped forward. One flashed his badge. "Ma'am, we need to speak with you." She blinked, confused for exactly 2 seconds. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Linda Reynolds," the investigator said evenly. "You're under arrest for identity fraud, theft, and interstate financial crimes." Her mask cracked. "I don't know who that is. Then why does this passport say otherwise?" he asked, pulling a second one from her bag. Same face, different name. For a moment, she stood still. Then she bolted. The airport erupted, people shouting, bags tumbling, security alarms wailing. She made it maybe 20 feet before 2 officers detained her, her sunglasses skittering across the tile. She screamed and kicked, voice echoing off the walls. "Get off me! I didn't do anything!" When she saw us, me and Liam, standing by the column, she froze, her eyes locked on Liam first. "You," she hissed, venom dripping from the word. "You pathetic fool. You really thought I cared for you." Liam flinched. I stepped forward, steady. "You used him." "You used all of them!" Her face twisted with fury. "You meddling old woman. You should have stayed quiet and been alone like your husband." 2 officers pulled her up. She fought them every step, screaming insults, promises of payback, but it was over. Sam walked up beside us, his tone low and even. They found $48,000 in cash, multiple IDs, and evidence of other victims. "She's finished, Maggie. Really finished." Liam's shoulders sagged, tears cutting silent lines down his face. "Dad knew," he whispered. "He knew what she was, and I didn't believe him." I put my hand on his arm. "He never blamed you, son. He only wanted to protect you." We watched as they led her away. The sunrise spilled orange light through the glass, washing over the scene, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe. 2 weeks later, Sophia, real name Linda Reynolds, pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud. She'd conned at least 5 families across 3 states. The prosecutor called it one of the most elaborate marriage scams in the state's history. Liam's marriage was annulled. The debts she'd forged in his name were erased. When he came back home, he stood in the doorway like a lost child. "Can I stay here for a while?" he asked. I opened my arms. "You never stopped belonging here?" That night, he sat in the garage reading James's old mechanic's journal, whispering through his tears. "He saved us, Mom, even after he was gone." And I knew he was right. James had built more than a truck. He built a way to protect us long after the engine stopped running. The months after the court proceedings passed in a blur of quiet mornings and long evenings. Summer came heavy over our town. Cicadas buzzing in the trees, heat shimmering above the asphalt. The kind of stillness that felt like the world was finally exhaling. Liam moved back into his old room. The wall still had faded posters from his teenage years. Baseball, guitars, a little corner of who he used to be before life got too complicated. Some nights I'd find him sitting in the garage reading James's journal, his hands blackened with grease from tinkering with old tools. He never said much, but I didn't need him to. Healing doesn't come with words. It comes in the slow rhythm of ordinary days. One Friday morning, as I was trimming the rose bushes out front, a familiar engine rumbled up the driveway. Low, deep, steady. I looked up and froze. Walter's pickup rolled to a stop by the curb. Behind him on a trailer sat James's 1972 pickup. The burgundy paint gleamed like sunlight on still water. Walter climbed out, wiping sweat from his brow. "She's all yours again, Mrs. Hayes," he said, smiling. "Been holding on to her till the paperwork cleared. Couldn't keep her any longer? She belongs home." My throat tightened. "Walter, I can't possibly—" He shook his head. "Your husband saved my family. That debt was paid a long time ago. This is just finishing the story." By the time Liam came outside, Walter had already backed the trailer to the garage. The truck slid off smooth, tires kissing the same spot where it had sat for 15 years. Liam stood there motionless, tears running down his face. "I don't deserve this, Mom." I put my arm around him. "Your father thought you did. That's enough." We spent the next weeks cleaning the garage together. We polished chrome, replaced filters, wiped dust from the dashboard until our hands ached. It wasn't just about fixing the truck. It was about rebuilding something we'd both broken in different ways. When the engine finally started, the sound filled the garage like a heartbeat. Liam laughed for the first time in months. A real laugh that echoed through the house. "Dad would have lost his mind hearing this," he said. "Then let's make sure he does," I said softly. We drove that afternoon. Me behind the wheel, Liam riding shotgun just like when he was a boy. The sun was dipping low over the hills, the sky painted gold and rose. Wind swept through the open windows, carrying the faint smell of oil and cedar. For the first time since James passed away, I felt peace. Not the kind that comes from forgetting, but the kind that comes from knowing love never really leaves. When we pulled back into the driveway, the garage lights spilled across the concrete, warm and familiar. I turned off the engine and sat there a moment, listening to the ticking metal. Liam looked over at me. He really did protect us, didn't he? I smiled through tears. Every step of the way. That night, I wrote the final line in James's journal. "She runs again? So do we, and that's the truth of it. Sometimes love doesn't stop at goodbye. Sometimes it leaves blueprints, letters, and engines, also we can learn how to keep going. The moral of the story is, true love doesn't end when a heartbeat stops. It endures in every act of protection, every lesson left behind, and every second chance we dare to take."